This is the safest haven. It was built in the middle of a deserted forest. Not only is the whole body made up of 600 made of solid over hundreds of years, and the whole process is a Zun-Mao structure, even if there is a stone-scale earthquake, because it's useless to be afraid. Man's name is Nick. It was the first day he bought the whole hill, and he had a chainsaw. Attacked directly at the tree fiend. In order to make the wooden house built strong enough, he chose this diameter specifically, Cloud Mountains over 50 cm, and after measuring the length of the trunk, and you cut it in the middle with a saw. Take out the excess branches and leaves one by one. Since buying coins has consumed most of the funds, so now whether it's cutting logs or turn the wood can only be done by Nick himself. Fortunately, he also has a trailer sponsored by his father-in-law. This is what keeps him at work a lot easier. And after bringing all the logs back to the base, you have to scrape the bark off. After all, there is only true honesty to bring them closer together. However, before it is officially used, the wood also needs to be placed next to it to dry naturally. And while waiting, Nick goes into the woods again, continue to collect the next batch of characters. So for the next 6 months, Nick's been sitting there cutting down Cloud Mountain and peeling them. And wait until the amount of logs collected in front, and Nick needs to get them measured and make a record with a notebook. In this way, it is convenient to arrange and combine to make sure the walls are flat and straight, and with the first snow of winter. And Nick had finally gathered all the logs. The construction of the shelter has officially begun. I saw him choose a spacious empty roof. First use the rope as a ruler, draw some marks on the ground, and then he shakes a digger. Follow the markers to start the excavator section. As an outstanding player who graduated from Lancheon, while Nick was digging the dirt, it can be said that he is very skilled. So he soon dug the foundation pit to a depth of half a meter and take advantage of the time to go home for the Chinese New Year. He's going to weld a lot of steel bars together, and I made it into square frames. And he came back the following spring. Assemble a few mold boxes in 3 or to first, one-on-one with the dug foundation pit. Then use the principle of the connector. Plan the height of each base installation. The world says that thousands of tall buildings rise from the ground. And Nick learned this very early on. So he rented a blender. Stir up a bunch of fresh cement mortar first. Just pour them over. You can add some large stones to the middle of the mud to increase internal traction. And when the cement reaches the height of the ground, you can put the finished mold. The tool is connected to the steel frame and then continue to fill in the middle with stones and cement. And then smooth out the surface of the mud. Then cause the angle of the steel bar. Make sure he is perfectly perpendicular to the plane below. Then, just wait until the cement dries naturally. Remove the mold on the surface. You can get a batch of very strong cement piers. And then Nick picks a log. Transfer it to the foundation, since each log weighs more than 100 kilograms. So for the convenience of handling, he's going to build a giant tripod first. I saw him find an extended piano, cross-connect 3 large logs together. The sides are supported by diagonal logs. After it is fixed once, with the help of the power of the trailer, erect the entire bracket. Adjust the direction of the bracket, add a column to each of the 4 corners, and then you just put the pulley on. Nanak will now move lumber a lot easier. I saw him marking the side of the log first, then cut the bottle from front to back with a chainsaw. Split it in half from the middle. I believe anyone who has worked on a construction site, these 2 logs are 4. Acts as the base of the wall. Due to stability concerns, the 2 ends of the original road need to be cut flat, and then you hoist them up. Let them connect with the steel bars on the concrete. Success for yourself. This will prevent them from leaving in the middle of the night. Sneak away from home. As for the wood on the left and right sides, Nick transferred them to the plane. First draw the mark in the corresponding position, and we cut with a saw. But due to the large diameter of the wood, the cutting of the groove cannot be done in one step, so it needs to be compared and adjusted repeatedly. Only in this way can they be truly rigorous. Silk partnership. And after installing the logs around, and Nick got some more small logs. First chisel out bayonets for the wood on both sides, then connect the logs, used as a middle nut. Is that so? They form a boxy foundation. And every piece of wood, it needs to be measured with a level. Stuff in some small wooden plates if necessary, to ensure that the entire foundation is at the same level. After confirming that there is no problem, you can start stacking up the wall. Still the old rules. First, by translating the compass, mark the sides of the log and chisel out bayonets for them with axes. Due to stability concerns, the sides of the log also need to be cut separately. Dig him a through groove. Then apply sealing strips to both sides of the groove. The middle is filled with a layer of thermal insulation and then cover it with the log below. This not only enhances overall stability, it also makes sure that it doesn't leak here. Half soil harvest. And in the following time, Nick cuts logs like this all the time. The wall has been stacked, no matter the hot summer. Or maybe it's winter. He worked like this for more than half a year. Finally splashed the wall to a height of 3 meters. And it just so happens that my brother-in-law is on summer vacation. Nick quickly picked him up. Let him help you get up on the roof. They first erected simple tripods. Add 2 more logs between them and the house. Make a temporary shelf, so they could put lumber on the roof. Store. You don't have to keep climbing up and down the primordial threat. And at the same time, the middle bracket is no longer necessary. So I took him apart in a moment. Get him out of the Nigerian stage completely. Then they transfer the logs to the walls. Start building the second floor roof, considering that this opportunity to learn is rare. So Nick put the key link. Leave it to my brother-in-law to grasp. However, as a young player who has not yet graduated, my brother-in-law's operation still seems a bit immature. So, in the end, Nick did it himself, to accurately determine the size of the groove. I saw them spread the lengthened logs in the middle, when the beam, and then we cover the top with short logs, used to act as a dragon above. To improve stability, it is still connected by the bamboo shoot structure. This allows them to achieve a true century-long harmony. Never part. And as the wall is built, all the timbers are joined tightly. One can tell at a glance that he is very sturdy. But the only problem is this: it takes a little bit of superpower to build. Speaking of which, if everyone is renovating their house, it is also financial loneliness. Follow the requirements to apply. Maximum 200,000. Just wait for the funds to come back and pay it back. Wait until the next morning, and Nick picked out some smaller logs. You start by sharpening their tips. Knock into the open space next to it one by one. Adjust the height with a saw, and we put a plank on top of it. Make it into a simple workbench. As for the side of the house, and what Nick is doing is fixing to logs along the edge. Make it into a spacious wooden ladder. So, when they go up and down the roof, it will be much more convenient. Then a heavy rain suddenly hit. Therefore, Nick quickly collected the excess wood. And then you pack your bags. Take the opportunity to go to the mountain to see. And when he came to the top of the mountain, it was surrounded by a thick layer of fog. In the distance, there is a large sea of clouds flowing. See this scene. I just want to say 2 words right now. It's really beautiful. As the weather clears, Nick and brother-in-law soon just start a new day at work. They put to lengthen logs on the roof. Make a gentle slide, and you just put the lumber on the ramp. Pull back through the footplate. You can slowly transfer it to the roof. And in order to facilitate their free movement on top, Nick specially bought a batch of planks from outside. Spread them on the keel in turn. You get a temporary floor. And before continuing to build the roof, so Nick goes and gets some planks. Use them to assemble a square frame. And we attach the frames to the walls, so that he can be the standard. Cut the wall along the edge. I'm sure anyone who has built a house knows, Nick, you're cutting yourself open. Long grooves need to be sawed out on both sides of the gate. Put a stick in it. Used as door frames. Placed in the doorway area, they dug to deep holes. And using stones and mud. Pour him to concrete piers. Because Nick designed a piece for the second floor, a street sign that extends outward. They needed concrete piers to support them. He specially picked 2 with a diameter of more than 80 cm. Cut bayonets for their tips. Then use the pulley to slowly lift it up. Let them get stuck between Niden and the terrace. After that, you just need to tighten the spiral at the bottom. Then they become the main force that can connect the previous, and then Nick cut some more pieces. Build a staircase at the door. Now it's very convenient for him to get in and out of the house. And as work gets ready on the first floor, and Nick was ready to build the roof of the second floor, they start by slashing the tops of 2 logs. Use large bolts to connect. Add 2 more bars in the middle. Let them form a giant triangular framework. Then with the pull of the trailer, slowly transfer the frame into the house, then adjust the position, and then put it up vertically along the edge of the house. The process seems complicated, but it's not easy at all. It also took Nick 2 days. Just put the first frame in place. However, due to the size of the house exceeding 200
over the next
meters, Nick has been doing the same. There are a total of 4 such frameworks installed on it. Extended steel nails need to be knocked into the side of the rod holder. We put some planks in between. While strengthening the structure, it is also convenient for Nick to stand on it and continue construction. Take advantage of the sunshine today. Nick first gave everyone shows the unique skills of a spinning axe, then go for a walk in the woods. Due to a heavy snow 2 days ago, let the whole forest turn into silver. I have to. It's really pleasant to live in a place like this in the future. And fly south as a flock of geese cry. Nick has also started a new day at work. I saw him cutting a piece of cardboard first. Match the shape of the roof corners. Then transfer it to the wooden board. And that saw is used for precision cutting. Add a small steel plate to the bottom. Then they form a dedicated dual device. And then Nick picks out an extended log. Cut in the middle. Dig him out a rough groove first. Then use the bipod to repeatedly adjust until it is cut into an exact matching triangle. And after this step is completed, you are ready to install. However, since the brother-in-law has left at this time, the job of moving the lumber can only be done by alone. I saw him add 2 logs to the side of the eaves. Give him a gentle slope again. Then use the pull of the trailer. Slowly transfer the processed wood to the roof. And then the crowbar is used to repeatedly adjust until he successfully docked with a sharp corner on the roof ridge. Except for the roof. The slopes on both sides also need to add a few beams, and Nick had to go ahead and make grooves out of the logs. Move them high with the help of a trailer. And we fix it with these big nails. Each beam installed, it takes 2 days. So, Nick kept working for 20 days straight. I finally got 9 of these beams installed. As for the spaces between the beams, and what Nick's doing is putting a couple of shoe supports in there. Let them form many triangles of different sizes. This can greatly enhance the stability of the structure. And after this scene is done, then you can lay planks on it. It just so happened that the wife was on summer vacation, just enough to come and help customers. Fortunately, compared with those large logs in the early planks don't require much force. So, it's a lot easier to lay. But the only problem is that it takes a lot of time, and as the roof slowly seals, the top of the board also needs to be covered with a rain cloth. Make sure when it rains, there's no rain coming down. And when it hits the roof on the other side, the weather has started to get hot. So the long-lost brother-in-law made another shining appearance as a man who once pleaded guilty here. Just pair it with Nick now. It can be said to be very tacit, so they took 2 days. I finished the rest of the roof. However, the roof ridge at this time, so Nick still needs to seal him. I saw that he first measured and compared the size. Cut a groove for him with a chisel, and chisel out the corresponding bayonet for the top, then connect the square wood to it. Let him be the force in the middle. With the construction of this house to this day, a moment has accumulated to 10 years of carpentry experience. So, you just have to size the individual pieces of wood. Top gifter. He was able to build a lattice of wood in no time. Framework, and then he got some planks, directly covering the outside of the frame. And the board at the edge needs to be beveled. Make sure they can fit in with U-guians. Due to the consideration of ventilation, you can keep the grid in the middle for now. Add a few planks to his perimeter. It is convenient to install the window here in the future. And after sealing the remaining positions, the outside of the board also needs to be covered with a layer of prevent ignorant rain. Sneak in from here. As for the roof ridge on the other side, Nick reserved a huge landings for him. The bed and the same are wrapped in a rain cloth. He bought a batch of windows from outside, first by manual handling. Move them to the attic. Buckle their sides. Find the corresponding window again. He uses little wooden blocks for support. It is convenient to fix the buckle on the window by yourself. Since his wife and brother-in-law have both gone back to school, so now it's up to Nick. Carry it alone. The size of these windows is tailor-made. This would save him a lot of money. Repeated adjustment time. The only problem, it just takes a little bit of superpower. Sealant should also be applied around the windows. Make sure nothing leaks out here. And then we're done. Nick fills the spaces in the wall with cotton. The outside of the thermal insulation, cotton continues to be greatly improve the thermal insulation of the home so that Nick can stay warm through the winter. However, at this time, the floor on the first floor there will still be a cold wind blowing against Nick's little body. So next, he's going to seal this place too.